How's it going, guys? Daniel Sapp here, tech editor at Pinkbike. We're here at my home in North Carolina. I'm going to take a break from cutting the lawn to look at MicroSHIFT's new Advent X drivetrain. It's a 10-speed drivetrain with an 1148 range, and all that sells for $167, and that's for the derailleur, shifter, and cassette. Historically, Taiwanese brand MicroSHIFT hasn't really been a go-to when it comes to putting a drivetrain on your bike aftermarket. After all, they don't have their name starting with an S, and a lot of people have always thought of them as a cheap knockoff of Shimano. All of that changed last year when they debuted their Advent drivetrain system. Advent, at $125 for a derailleur, shifter, and cassette, was extremely affordable. But the issue that it did have was the range. It just didn't compete with SRAM or Shimano's current offerings at an 1142. To address that, MicroSHIFT's now released their new Advent X 10-speed group. It's a wider range. It goes up to 48 teeth in the back. It's only slightly more expensive than the $125 Advent. It sells for $167. That's with a nicer shifter and nicer cassette with the aluminum body. And all the compatibility of using an HG free hub body and any other standard 10-speed parts. Advent X is MicroSHIFT's top tier group. They worked everywhere they could to reduce weight, make it more ergonomically friendly, and add range to the gearing wherever possible. MicroSHIFT's engineers decided to go with 10 gears instead of bumping it up to 11, 12, or even 13 speeds as some other group sets now do have. And in this, they were able to save weight and still hit the price point and gear range that they thought was appropriate for most riders. MicroSHIFT's cassette uses a 2-stage aluminum carrier. It has 2 different sets of 3 gears that are made and machined together, and then the other gears are just alone, and you just stack them on the cassette like you normally would. Doing that, they were able to keep the weight down, and it came in right around 424 grams. And that's for the aluminum carrier. There's a heavier steel carrier version that knocks $20 off the price, and even at that, it's not that heavy. So the steps in the gearing on the new cassette are really similar to the steps in the gearing on the old cassette, which I found to be perfectly acceptable. It didn't feel like too much or too little. It adds another gear to the back end to get that 48 teeth, and that's where that 10th speed comes in. And other than that, it's more or less the same. The cassette fits on any normal HG free hub body, and it runs a standard 10-speed chain. The shifter for Advent X has been totally redone as well. The paddle's all new, and the engineers at MicroSHIFT say that they looked around at a bunch of different designs and tried to figure out what the best way to have a neutral shifter that, is still affordable. Having all the fancy adjustments like some of the higher end SRAM stuff really adds a lot to the price. So they stuck with just a 1 position for the paddle, but the paddle is more ergonomic now, and it has a really nice silicone pad on it. You're able to shift up multiple gears at once, which is really nice. The new derailleur for Advent X is really similar to the derailleur that was on Advent. The big change was that they had to make some small modifications in order for it to accommodate the wider range of gears and up to that 48 tooth. But they had a lot of success with it and its clutch system, which is just a little switch right here, and it has a lot more tension on it than a SRAM or Shimano clutch. It's adjustable, but overall, they didn't see any big changes that need to be made, so they stuck with what works. So the weight for the group set, shifter, derailleur, and cassette comes in at 850 grams. Now that's lighter than Shimano's XT. It's about the same as SRAM's GX. So as far as my initial ride impressions go, I haven't had a lot of time on the drivetrain yet, so I can't give a full review or full ride impressions at this time. We've been under quarantine here, kind of trying to keep things safe and easy, but I have gotten out and ridden it some. I don't have any complaints. It shifts smoother than the original Advent, and everything seems to be running strong and fine. In the coming weeks and months, we'll be able to get out and get some more time in on it and report back with any further findings, but I really expect it to hold up just the same as the original Advent did, and I'm not gonna have too many complaints.